Welcome to another edition of Blerdlines. I'm your host, Kam.
And I am the professor. And our other two fellas, our other guys, they're out on assignment doing big things. They got important shit, as Tony Stark would say. But no, they are out, and we're going to carry the load for them today. We're going to be talking about Fallout Season 2. That came from us talking so much about Fallout 4 that now it went right to my brain. Fallout Season 4. No, that Fallout Season 4 hasn't come yet, if it will come, but we're talking about Season 2 of Amazon Prime's or Prime Video's Fallout TV show. So I guess let's start with the first overall impressions, positive and negatives. What did you think about this season versus where they left off last season? Because it was a lot thrown at us, and a lot of the stuff wasn't completely resolved. But here we are, Season 2.
I enjoyed it thoroughly, and as we mentioned off the record, that they stuck to the video game as scripture. And what the game does, it does give you a lot of options to choose your own destiny, sort of like a Fable type game, where there's different outcomes based on the decisions you make. And I feel like the theme of that game also resonates with the show. There's choices you make that have cause and effect. We don't know what's going to happen based on the decisions of some of these characters.
They built that in there nicely. I'm very surprised at how well they were able to capture the essence of the gameplay itself, in that you are a nameless character until you give them a name, but they have written the background and backstory and all that stuff, but your choices kind of put you on certain paths to certain outcomes, versus it's the typical Bethesda RPG, think Elder Scrolls and recently Starfield, it's those same kind of mechanics and vibe. Although I think Fallout is a lot more lore rich than definitely the Starfield. I can't say for Elder Scrolls.
I will say this about Fallout. Each game you could play by itself and not have to play the previous versions or any future versions to get the gist of what Fallout is about. Mm-hmm. This show encompasses that. It's a new story. They're not all in the same timeline either. So every game is different. And just like the show, it's in the Fallout universe, but we just take a piece of the Fallout world and we are dropped there, and we understand the story of what's going on with this particular character and how their stories follow through their hero's journey and the characters they meet. And it still sticks within the lore Fallout, and it doesn't deviate where you don't feel like this is you watch the show and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm watching a live action game, And initially, I'll say this, I was not familiar with the Fallout franchise. Watching season 1 made me go play the game. And when I asked my friend,
so you had never played never
played Fallout. And after watching a few episodes of season 1, I thought it was goofy at first because I saw the thumbs up guy. I was like, oh, this looks like a comedy.
You didn't understand the satire.
Yeah, satire. So I thought it was like some Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. Mm. No, very violent, very gory, very cool. And it made me want to play the game. And the game, for the most part, when I do play the game, I never do the quest. I'm doing these side quests. And I feel like watching a series, I'm watching a bunch of side quests.
Oh, yeah.
On the way to the main story. So that resonated with me. And this character, our main character, who I failed to bring up her name, but
Lucy McLean is the character, and she's portrayed by Ella Purnell.
Yes. So we follow Lucy, just like in the game, this random character, and we try to understand what's their motivation, why they're doing this. But everything.
We have a couple different characters like that we get to see this world unfold, or at least not even just the narrative unfold, but the world mechanics in operation as they move through the journey. You have the Ghoul and Cooper Howard, who's probably, because he where he comes from is the most compelling character, but very much reminds me of Fallout 4's protagonist, where if I'm not mistaken, because I always play the beginning of Fallout 4 and I never get further, because I know vividly. I remember there's the opening sequence where it's the normal pre-Great War or pre-Fallout, and you're a regular schmo, and a Vault Tech employee comes to your door trying to sell you the vault, asking you about, I think your character's already bought a vault, but they're basically trying to do something, remind you of something, and then that's when the alarms go off, and it's like you have to run to the vault, and then it like cuts screen, and then you're waking. The next thing is you're waking up out of cryo sleep, and you're in the vault, but the vault is wrecked. Like everybody's kind of dead. I remember coming out of the cryopod and seeing like a big mosquito in another room.
So I'll give you a quick synopsis of Fallout 4's intro. You start off pre-bomb drop, and the character that's played by the robot that's destroyed in season 2 is a main character that comes to your door and has you sign up to be a vaultie. And so the bomb drops. You run to the evac to get into the shelter.
Yeah.
And then you wake up, and then mid-sleep, you see your wife and kid kidnapped by some unknown character. And then you fall asleep and wake up again.
I remember that. Your character's in and out. The first time you wake up, you see that somebody's taking your wife and child out. But then you go back out, you pass out again, and then you wake up. And then that's
when your story begins, and you try to figure out what happened to them.
But you have to escape the vault and get to the surface because everybody else in the vault is pretty much dead, right?
Yeah, and you don't know why. Why did you survive?
Exactly. You don't know anything.
And you don't know what year is it. You just come out. You don't know if your wife and kid is alive. And
there's hostiles all around. So now you have to quickly figure out how to survive radioactive wasps and cockroaches and mosquitoes.
Rad roaches. So before we get into that, I will say I commend the writers that put this together, because they took a lot of things from the game and they were just true to form. The rad roaches was there, some of the robots was there, the androids was there, like everything was there. A lot of details was there, and I was like, "Oh, this is just like the game." You're watching
this season with the introduction of the Death Claws, really good. And Ramen,
they came last. I think. I feel like they were. No, there was a reference to them in a skeleton.
There was only the reference in the skull, and we see. So the first time we see the skull is when Hank arrives in New Vegas after he escaped the ghoul and Lucy, and he walks past the Deathclaw skull, which we don't know is actually a visual foreshadowing, because the Enclave actually control some of the Deathclaws, and we get that flashback from Cooper's POV, which we don't have context for until later when he's talking to Mr. House, and he's like, there was only one. I was outflanked by this one group that I didn't see, and it didn't occur to me until I saw your demon in the snow of what I was actually up against. And I thought that was really cool and interesting, in that almost every single character has their own agenda, even if they're a part of, like Hank. Hank is a part of the Enclave, but he was dead set fascinated by the chip. Like that was literally what he wanted to innovate, and he believed that was the solution for the problems of humanity on the surface. And there's some more reveals about that as well. But you're right. They they were very true to the looks of the game, and the Deathclaw look was crazy, insane. Those things are
that was really good detail they did on the Death. It looked better than the game, actually.
It looked like they just pulled it right out of the game, like they just had their designer
the game came out 2015, So that's like 11 years ago, and it still holds up to today. But when I say it looks better than the game, we have to give I have to give context. The game came out in 2015, so those graphics, until they have a graphical upgrade, is going to look quote unquote primitive, for lack of a better term. But what they did translate on the screen was accurate. That was cool.
Like if they do another game, that's what you're going to be looking at in the game.
And when you play the game, just like the show, Death Claws is a run-on-site animal unless you have an OP character. So when you see the Stranger, played by Walter Goggins, the Ghoul, he was like, "Yo, we gotta go," because Lucy.
And he did a great job with his facials, and that's such a great. Those are such great character writing direction is in total sync, because we saw that he had seen the Death Claw when he wasn't a ghoul, but up until this point, he's been an unmitigated badass when it comes to dealing with threats in the wasteland. Like, he's no fool. Like we see him when he's wrestling with that scorpion crab thing. He knows that some things can take him down. He's not immortal, but the Death Claw is a whole different thing. Like those things, literally, their claws mean death. Like that's, if they get a hold of you, you're gone. Unless you're in one of those power armors, and then you have to be a skilled fighter, like we see with Maximus. Like, if Thaddeus was in that armor, he would have got torn to shreds if he didn't fall apart on the inside in the first place.
So, which is cool, because I feel like all the characters have a hero villain side to them. They have their own agenda. In the Fallout game and like the series, no one's truly good. Everybody has an agenda.
Yeah, good and evil in this kind of storytelling are abstract concepts. They don't exist in the real. They are ideals. And what you see thematically in this whole season, because we have different conversations, the conversation between Maximus and Thaddeus about, after he gets the cold fusion and he's like, I'm going to give it to a good person. And Thaddeus is like, those don't exist, man. I've seen some stuff out here, and it's like, I've seen a whole lot of things, but I've never seen a good person. And, Maximus's response is like, he came from Shady Sands, so his experience was with people who were quote unquote good people. And then we see that thing time and time again. One of my favorite episodes was, I believe it's episode 6. I'll double check in a moment.
Season 2?
Yes, season 2. But it's the episode where we finally get it from Barb's perspective.
So here's the thing. Before you get into this, season 1, I thought Barb was going to probably be the major villain for some reason.
Well, she's set up. She is established as the overarching antagonist, because when she says we drop the bombs ourselves, that's the reveal that she's more than just this executive at Vault. She is one of the key elite players who are about to put this into motion, who is comfortable with murdering billions of people for this ideal of resetting civilization, and then going on this multi-layered experiment with the human race. So this season, when we get her point of view, and by the way, Frances Turner, oh man, she is amazing. I mean, like, give this woman more work, because she is brilliant. She can say so much with just a look. Yeah. There was a moment where she communicated how she felt about Hank, which we didn't know previously, how she felt. And, young Hank comes in, he's like, oh, I asked Betty if I could sit in when she's meeting with Robert House. He didn't come in at all at any other point, but when she's meeting with he was
fanboying like at that time, yeah.
Well, more than that, when you get toward the reveal, and they reveal that he was an Enclave agent, his demeanor is also, as much as it is him, it's also meant to be it's meant to be misdirect, right? It's meant to be so that people don't pay attention to him or they write him off. And when that happens, he's able to do what he tried to do with Barb. But she, as we saw, is much sharper than that. So like he comes in and he goes, "Oh, I want to listen in." And at one point, he stands up to look over her shoulder, and she just goes, and then like backs him down with a look, and with just a look. But that communicated that this is, and we then see the scene where she's talking to Betty, and there's a difference there. With Betty, she talks to her, whereas with Hank, it's kind of like, I'm only doing this because I have to keep this veneer of this corporate interest, being aligned with the corporate interest. So there was a lot going on in that episode, and it was good to get it from her perspective. I still do think that she's more involved than what Cooper is now seeing. I think she pivoted not because she really believed that he was going to be able to save the world, but because he was the wild card that they were able to manipulate and get what they actually needed. Because if you think about it, if they were supposed to be delivering the cold storage to Robert House, if Cooper doesn't come, that happens no matter what, right? So if House doesn't know about the Enclave, and the Enclave are the ones who are really after the cold fusion, we know that, and they know they're going to try to get it, then what was the original plan? Because the wild cards are the Congresswoman and Cooper.
Yep.
The constants were the variables. The constants were that were going to be in Vegas, that were guaranteed going to be in Vegas during that meeting, were Barb and the president.
Yep.
And their connection is the Enclave, which means that Barb was likely all along a member of the Enclave. She was probably just a reluctant member, but she was a member. Because you get those moments where Betty is like, "Oh, I don't think it's a good idea for you to," when she asks Betty to keep an eye on what they're going to be doing with the cold storage, where it's going, when it's moving, all that stuff. And she's like, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea." And Barb is like, "None of this is a good idea." Like,
So during that, I'll say this too. Season 2, I love that each episode had a kind of a dedicated chapter to each character, and we get their POV. Mm-hmm. But it reminds me of when Barb was doing the interviews, talking about how they were going to do this. And you can see the hesitation in their face, the way they were talking so cavalier and nonchalant. "Oh, they're just going to destroy these cities and keep it moving and have these." And she was just like, "Dang, like, this is kind of crazy." You can see the cringe in her face, even though she was with the program.
When she's sitting there and they're going through that before Henry. Yeah, no, absolutely. And we don't know that this is the scene that takes place before Coop listens in and she says that, and something else happens before that, and that's her encountering the scientists in from season 1 on the elevator, which revealed 2 things. Again, another connection that puts Barb in the room with the Enclave. And it revealed that he was also 200 years old. And we know that he was doing in dog meat. There's a connection between dog meat and Janie. And I don't know what it is just yet, but there is a connection. There was a sinister thought, and I pushed it out of the back of my mind. But when we first see him, the scientist in season 1, they're doing some kind of genetic experimentations with those dogs. And that dog in particular, he keeps and he protects, he hides. And in addition to taking the cold storage, which kind of occupies our attention, we forget that he was also being chased after because he kept that dog and he took the dog with him. Then
that would be I see where you're going. That would be a huge deviation of what dog meat is in the game, but it's not a bad connection.
No, I get it. But some things have to move beyond that, and it feels like this is sort of it. It could just be a spiritual thing where we're connecting Coop and his dog, but I think there's something more going on there, and we're going to eventually get the. I ultimately don't think Cooper's story is going to end happily. I don't think that Barb and Janie are going to be what he was hoping for. They're probably going to be revelation, because then you have to think about it like this. Even if Barb thought all this stuff was a bad idea, even if what she says is true, that there are worse people than her, and I believe that, because she wasn't talking about doing those experiments, like when the guy was casually saying, "Oh yeah, we got only 30 water chips, and guess what? We can know which ones go lose water first." Ha 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 ha! Like they're just like it's such a sick. The satire is so poignant because it's meant to lambast that relationship between capitalism, government, and the people, as well as scientific innovation. So you get all of these things wrapped into one, and you see that Barb isn't okay with it, but at the same time, what did the guy say to her in the elevator? We're on this train.
Yeah. If you deviate from this train, you're going to get put out.
That's it. Everybody. And so what I got from that is not necessarily he was threatening her, and not necessarily even saying that that everybody in the enclave is evil. They're saying that, no, we put ourselves on this path. We all agreed to this. Regardless of how other things might go, this is where we have to go, and nobody's getting off. And if anybody gets off, we have to X them off because they could be an outlier.
And at the same time, even if you do deviate, the plan is still going to go through.
It's still going to go through.
And we've seen that throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
They think they've won, but even House said there was always one step ahead of me. I couldn't predict this.
They outflanked.
Yeah, the Enclave is the end game that's running the scenes, because it's like season 1 and season 2. You think you figured out who the main antagonist is, and then there's another layer and another layer. Here's a question I want to pose. If Hank successfully puts the chip in his daughter Lucy, does he activate the sleeper agents in the Enclave, or does he keep his persona as Lucy's dad and she's under the influence of his chip?
Well, he activated the chips, but he had put the chip in himself. Wait,
let me say this. Would he activate the chip on himself? Like, do you think he would still go forward with that?
Go forward with what?
Turning his chip on and wiping his memory if he had his daughter under his control? Or would he still try? No.
No, I think we got enough evidence to suggest that, again, Hank, like all the others from Vault 31, are cockroaches, and they survive, and they only know how they feel like the world. So 31 through 33 is all Bud Atkins, the Bud's experiment. And I think that's why Barb specifically did not want her and Janie to end up. And so no, I think if the ghoul hadn't interfered, Hank would have put that chip in Lucy, and he would have kept going with what he was going to do, which was basically go out and put chips in everybody in the wasteland that he could find. And anybody that resisted him, he was probably going to unleash more Death Walkers on them. I don't know where he got those Death Walker eggs. I don't know. There's probably, and again, that's what I mean. Like, there's, for every resolved thing, there's a lot of questions that they leave open to be revisited later. Who is, we meet the last president, and we almost immediately, without having to have a character say it, is shown this guy is one of the top enemies. Like, this is the guy who, like, we knew that Cooper was making a fatal mistake. We know that because we know what's happened, obviously, but we see it in real time, like he's making a fatal mistake. And even when Barb says, so to save our family, we got to save the world, is that simple. It don't sound like she's entirely convinced. And that's why I'm saying, like, I do think that ultimately she was there to bamboozle House into thinking that they gave him the cold fusion, but she was really going to deliver it to the president. And it just so happened that Coop ended up being the person that was able to get the meeting with the president under I don't think the congresswoman, I think she was a tool. I don't think she was in on it. I don't think she was a part of the enclave. I think she was simply a tool.
If she was part of it, she wouldn't have ended up in the situation she was when we found out.
Exactly. Which is so messed up. Like, that's the whole thing about this world. It's like the worst possible aspect of it. They go there. Like, you mean to tell me you couldn't have mapped her mind or something like that and just got her personality like that? You had to shove diodes into her brain and keep her head.
And she was still conscious.
And she was still conscious. That was the worst part. That is the worst thing you could do to a human being. Have them on the edge of death and life and death and stuck in that state for that long, for 200 years.
Wait, what's the character in God of War?
Mimir? Yeah. Yeah, that she, you know what? It's funny you said that, because that's very much a Mimir symbology. Like, there's Mimir symbolism there. But it was just, and then just how casual Hank describes it to Lucy. It's like, wow, they really are just painting corporations and those people as just dead inside sociopaths. Like, they're just willing to do anything for the cultivation and the maintaining of power, of supreme power.
I will say this, that point you're just making was exemplified in the meeting between the representative when they were trying to disband the incest meeting. And the members were like, we were rich. We are entitled to this.
Yeah.
Which is a small microcosm of what the whole Fallout world and what these people in the Enclave were trying to accomplish. Yeah. We're rich, we're entitled, we're going to control things from the shadows and plant all this.
But also to force the kind of Uberman, or the next stage of evolution where human beings are more closer to, we are overcoming the physical limitations and things like that we have. That's where you get the forced evolutionary virus and
FEV. What did they mask it as?
It was something else. Oh God, I'm blanking.
That was a little Easter egg too. So it was like,
it was called something else before Norm revealed it on Barb's computer. And again, look, you got to think she knew about that. Yeah. And if Coop never found out, she would have gone along with all of it. That's why I'm saying, like, as much as this season,
she got guilt tripped, basically.
That's what it was. Like, it caught her off guard. She had to adjust. Like, and I'm not saying that she doesn't feel anything or she's this evil person, but I'm saying that I believe that she, the whole time, was a member of the Enclave, and she joined them for exactly what she said, which was she found the exact way to ensure that she, Cooper, and Janie don't, first of all, they survive, and second of all, they are not lumped in to be experimented on like what Hank was doing and stuff like that. And the only way you could do that is if you were a part of the Enclave. Otherwise, you were going in one of those vaults, or you would be stuck on the surface. Like Coop got stuck on the surface, and there's still a lot to know about his 200-year span and his, after he gets irradiated and his journey to becoming a ghoul and how he's able to stop himself. I mean, there's the implication in season 1 that he hibernates sometimes.
So there's some inconsistencies too when the bomb drops, and because he was in season 1, he was at like some party.
He had Janie with him, and that's the thing they haven't reconciled yet. They haven't reconciled what we saw, which was the last. There's no way. It's obviously they survived, but then are they doing the same thing with, like, drawn from Fallout 4 where maybe Coop makes it to a vault? Maybe that was just kind of an exaggeration of
maybe I'm assuming they made it, because if they're in if she's in a vault, Janie
is in a vault,
that means she's not a ghoul. For some reason, he didn't make it to a vault. He turned to a ghoul, and he's been on this quest to find him. But he has the knowledge and memory of how all this went down. So he's on his revenge tour. But it's just weird because it's like, are they in the vault? Did he make it? Because that bomb drop, I don't know if they made it. You know what I'm saying? In season 1.
We don't know. And the way that it was shot and the visual of it, it could go either way. Like it could be that we just saw the kind of calamity, but then maybe they were closer to a shelter than we thought.
Yeah.
Maybe they made it to the shelter.
Didn't they have shelters in season 1? Did they show them going into like mini shelters?
Yeah, they had shelters because remember the at the party the guy takes the shelter and then the other guy tried to get in and he hits him. Yeah, because that's not a vault. That was a shelter. And I think the idea was that some of them had to actually come up and then travel to the vault. It seems like that's the only thing that would make sense for that. So again, that's what I meant by like the world building is kind of either these things are going to be disappointing and unresolved, or there's going to be some really cool payoffs to some of these mysteries. Just like this season when they don't say, oh, it was the president who dropped the bombs, but they give you a big clue as to like, but you heard that suspicious activity. Yes, he was on it. Like he did do that. But I think as far as like the going episode for episode with each show, with each week, I was surprisingly not annoyed by the fact that they were releasing them weekly. I think
it's fine.
Yeah. Kind of ended in a place where you wanted to see what was going to happen next. And that's the exact thing you want in a serial drama. Is you want to anticipate what's coming. And each time I felt like that's what we got at the end, at the closing of each episode.
I will say this. I didn't watch it week by week and I just binged it because there was just so much content I was watching.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that I was able to binge it because again,
it's better to binge it because it works better as a story if you're watching it continuously rather than because I notice when I go back and watch it, I'm picking up on stuff that I missed before because I watched it. Then there's that break in between waiting for the next episode. But the only storyline that at first was slow for me or that I was not interested in was the vault stuff. I was so over that.
So if you play the game, the vault lore is deep.
No. Again, I'm talking about the show, and so
I'm just saying. I'm so being familiar with the game.
Yeah,
the vault is in its own self is a whole thing.
Yeah,
and the show doesn't really go into that until end of season 1 and more into season 2 about the people who were in that vault and what their motivation was.
And then at the end of season 2, as we get to, I think when it really takes a turn is when we get the whole backstory of Steph being a Canadian. And then that's where I had to go to look at the lore because I didn't realize what the United States in this alternate world was or had become. Really a dictatorship to all of the Americas and was closing in on invading China. And so when she's when Steph in the flashback and her mother are running and her mother's like, do what you have to do, cross that border, and she basically tells her to kill any American she comes across and just don't think of them as human, but think of them as Americans. And it's funny because I was like, if this show probably got as much attention as some other shows, there would be an uproar about that. But again, like you said, it's embedded in the lore of this fictional world where this is a kind of like The Purge. Like this is a different America. This isn't the America. It's a reflection, a satirized version of the America that we live in. Because the whole point is that it's not that far off. It's just hyperbole.
I will say this is a meta reference called. Her mother was played by Natasha Henstridge, who also played in Species as an alien.
Excuse me.
So the illegal alien aspect coming into America was funny.
I thought I recognized her. I was like, who is that? And I didn't look it up.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I had recently thought about her, and I was like, I haven't seen Natasha Henstridge in like anything.
Yeah.
And the reason I thought about that is because I watched Ghost of Mars with John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars. It's one of those. John Carpenter makes good B movies when he really wants to, and this was like one. He made two good B movies in the late '90s. One was John Carpenter's Vampires, and the other one was Ghost of Mars, which was not the '90s. I think that was like 2002 or something like that. It was like early 2000. But that was the last thing I saw her in. And so I recently thought about it. Wow, I didn't realize that was who that was.
Yeah, a little meta reference throwback right there. So
yeah, she used to be, she's the OG sexy alien murderess. Yeah. And it's, you're right. It is a great meta reference because what does Steph become? Like she is a fictional alien or immigrant murderess who enters America and starts killing. And when we get her backstory, it's crazy. Like I didn't expect the reveal about her being Hank's wife. And
that was
crazy murderess.
So here's the thing that.
The murderous part didn't surprise me because she did survive. Like
we saw a glimpse of that in season 1 when it was trying to be an overthrow, and you were like, "Yo, that's kind of not
her and Hank." Like that was the and Betty. Remember, Betty survived that. Like there was no.
They have a past. So I was gonna say one of the things, and it's a slight negative, was Lucy. Still in season 2 and halfway through season 2, still is naive through this. And we saw that exemplified when they go to the hospital and she rescues one of the patients. She gives a stim pack to the patient instead of the ghoul. Mm-hmm. And the ghoul says, remember the golden rule. And she's still living by this. Like everybody's good people until they're not. And I'm like, you haven't figured this out from your father in season 1. Leading up to this, and the only time we have a turn is when she's on drugs. She's on buff out, and she's starting to indulge, and it's more of instinct. And this is what the wasteland does to you. This is when you truly become a character in Fallout. And finally, she makes judgment calls for the survival of the group instead of thinking of the good. The people putting herself and the ghoul in a predicament.
Yeah, I
think moving better. But that was the only slide. I was like, I feel like she should be a little bit more hardened now.
She was slow to the uptake.
Just a little bit. It's a small gripe. Just a little bit.
I think the whole idea is that this is a character who's trying to hold on to that, despite her seeing what the wasteland is. You know, there is not for her. It's more better to hold on to that
hope.
Well, I don't know if it's hope as much as not necessarily casually or wantonly taking a life. Like I think that's what I get. But you're right. She is very naive when it comes to that. And I think we finally got that broken out of her by the end. And she's seen quite a bit. She's seen people murder. I mean, when she get the glove, this guy just killed the owner of the shop and stuffed them in the trash can. So
she was on buff out then. Still trying to get over the buff. She was trying to get over the drugs. So she's still living loose on that fact that she can kill without thinking about it.
She's also the walking example of that theme that was running throughout the season, which is who is a good person? What makes a good person? Is it the decision, the choice not to kill? Is the choice to kill, but to consternate or to think about it and have a conscience about it?
Which is the theme of the game.
Yeah.
Actually, you do. I will say this, to her credit, the ghoul has been around 200 years plus, so he's a little bit more biased and cynical, where she's just fresh out the womb and been on the surface for a certain amount of time. So she still has this kind of...
She's unlearning everything ever was taught. And that takes time. And so in that regard, I think it makes sense that she's still holding on to the golden rule and things like, I mean, they have been if the wastelanders are ignorant, the vault dwellers are dumb.
Yeah.
Because they have been not only lied to about the past and the history of America and all of that stuff, they've had to live this incredible lie, believing that it was leading to something. I mean, you think about how many people were born, lived in those vaults, and died believing that someday their children would go up to the surface and there will be hunky dory.
Very Branch Davidian.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's really is that we get the reveal in the finale that it was the surface all along that the Enclave was running its experiment on, which is to say, there is these, and there's been a lot of writing about this in literature. Part of what we're talking about reminds me of Robert E. Howard's stories, the Conan and the Culls and stuff, and his sort of aesthetic philosophy in that it's civilization that we are working at. It's not the other. We're not born civil. That we work every day to suppress the apex predator that exists within us. And so when you have situations like that, when the structures fall, you get an environment like a wasteland. Mad Max is there's been all these stories
example of that, yeah.
in science fiction that focuses on the idea that a cataclysm happens in a new epoch, or epoch, a new epoch happens. And typically what happens as a result is that a combination of cultural fog, and memory and information. So typically when a new epoch rises, it does everything it can to forget how the other one ended, right? Because it was likely ended on catastrophe with only a few human beings left to survive. And so now they choose to either tell this story as it happened from the former epoch, or they ignore it altogether. And then so eventually those facts become legend becomes myth becomes forgotten eventually. So you see that in Fallout, and that's what the Enclave is doing, is watching and monitoring these epochs, these rise and falls of civilization, because you have them locked in this same perpetual cycle in which the humans don't live long enough to build generationally, and we don't think about that. So after one generation passes completely out, who remembers what they went through, and who remembers, and we can't trust the text.
Another prime example is the Kaiser.
Yeah, when she says, "What you mean, Kaiser? You mean that's like German? You mean Caesar? That's Caesar. That's Roman. You guys are dressed like the Roman." So again, you can see this is how epochs work. And what did he say to her when she says, "Oh, this is America"? And he's like, "We don't know that." He's like, "How can you be so sure?" He's like, "Either way, that failed state is long dead." And so that's becomes how the W.B. Yeats's poem, The Second Coming, is all about that, where it talks about in the first line, turning the widening gyres. And at the end of that, gyres being that he felt that all of human history is a series of epochs. And the antiquity epoch ended, and then we enter the Judeo-Christian epoch, which is ending. If you really, I'm not gonna say it's ending. I would say that you could say that it could possibly be ended, because it's been 2,000 years. The reason we know that we're in the Christian epoch is, how do we look at time? We judge years by the 2000th year after the death of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So we're in the Christian epoch. But if that continues to erode, then what's going to happen is we're going to enter another one. But it's probably going to be after a cataclysm, and you see that. And so I say that to say that Fallout takes advantage of that knowledge, of that idea that human history is these series of epochs, and that they're typically, but here you have one that is where a faction is controlling and watching the epochs. They're saying, no, that one isn't going to work. Let it die. We'll start over. Like that's literally what. And if it won't die on its own, we'll assist it, like with Hank and did with Shady Sands.
I was going to say the Fallout series as a whole feels like a series of experiments going wrong until they get it right. Yeah. Kind of like how the Matrix was. When they keep doing this,
that's like the Matrix. Perfect. Yeah. And the Matrix is drawing on that same historical idea, our literary idea, and the idea that we moved from the antiquity period into the Christian, or you could call it the pagan period, into the Christian era. And because you'll be fooled to believe that humanity or even the Earth has only spun for 2026 years. Like that doesn't make any sense. So it is clear that we're operating under this is basically 2026 years of what we can remember. And most of that is we can't distinguish between fact or fiction. And that's how it typically works. And that's why the lore of Fallout works that in pieces, because again, we're talking about having to sift through memory, not just one or two people, but memory of an entire species that doesn't live that long, relatively.
So here's the thing that trips me out. The Enclave have all the power to move all these pieces, but what I haven't seen is a section of held knowledge anywhere. Like there's no library. You just get fragments of history in each faction. They hold on to something and they leave it as
they're intentionally forgetting the stuff they didn't like or that was painful for them.
Yeah.
And they're keeping or holding on to the things that they felt were great or that did work. Hank did the same thing.
I was going to say, I just felt like the Enclave would be the one entity that would have all the truth dating back to history and siphon it. You know how like in the Book of Eli, the Bible was a way to control because it had words that were powerful. But at the end of the movie, there was Alcatraz who had this library of knowledge dating the past so people wouldn't forget it and move forward in the future. Whereas I thought, it just occurred to me, I was like, Fallout doesn't have that.
You also have to think about it like this. Even if there probably is something like that in an Enclave installation somewhere. They just probably haven't revealed it. I'm sure that that's because you don't create a deep state that is designed to a cabal that's designed to not only take all the power, but to reset the world by mass murdering 80% of the population, of the human population. We're talking billions, trillions of people. And you don't do that without being able with the thought that you're going to just lose all that knowledge. You're going to control it. You're going to hoard it somewhere. But as so much time passes, the knowledge and the people who originally put it there die. Mm-hmm. The knowledge becomes almost useless because not most Wastelanders are obviously speaking English because this is an American story and show and all that stuff. But if a Wastelander finds Don Quixote, what can they do with that? Besides look at it and say, oh, this is a book. Somebody wrote it. I could use this paper for some other stuff, but that's probably about the only thing that they can do with it. And so that becomes an issue as well. It's like knowledge without context is, it's the monkey with the microwave.
I forgot to mention the introduction of the super mutant
Yes.
played by Ron Perlman.
Yeah, shout out Ron Perlman, man. That dude's like, he's everywhere. Hellboy, Super Mutant. And I heard he was actually voiced the early games. He did.
Yeah.
So that's the legendary story, is that he got paid like something that you wouldn't even think that he would be making, but he did it, and the game blew up and was like this.
It was a good investment.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he wasn't, at the time, he didn't think much about it. He accepted what they gave him, and he was like, cool. He was most likely doing it for somebody, a friend, somebody he knew. But yeah, it
worked out. And I say to introduce his character because I think this potential next season, we're going to have a break off from Lucy and the Ghoul going their own separate ways.
Yeah, Lucy and Maximus are probably going to be in a main. I think those two are going to be set on some kind of quest by Robert House. There was a
little reference to the Robert House booting back up.
When they see you, show him in the frame, no signal, and then you see his face, and Lucy and Maximus on the other side behind the screen, but we can see their frame, so we can see both. And they're watching, because I saw someone on Reddit was saying, oh, they think Lucy's gonna go with the Ghoul and Maximus is gonna join NCR. I said, that don't make a lot of sense. That would be a repeat of this last season, when Maximus started with the Brotherhood of Steel, became disillusioned.
Why would he go back into another faction like that?
Into another faction. That means that nothing, and it seemed like he started to understand that in the story, just as Lucy was understanding that out in the wasteland, you have to sometimes make decisions that can't be looked at as black and white, good and evil.
That's what the Ghoul said to Maximus. He was like, in order to give this to a good person, you have to give it to somebody really bad.
And then what does Maximus say to Lucy when she's like, I could have prevented this? He's like, welcome to the wasteland. Like, I started a war. He's basically saying, guess what?
Yeah.
Before I got to you, guess what I just did? I started a war. And so it's I like the way that sort of those two came together after that understanding. So I disagree that they're gonna break them up and send them on. I think
I'm saying I think the Ghoul story and Lucy story has ended. That's
no. Yes. No, I didn't know. When I said I disagree, I was talking about you. I was talking about what I read with
got you.
They thought that the next story would be Maximus joining the NCR to fight the Legion. I said, if you think about it, they haven't given us storylines that take us deep into those conflicts. What we got from the Legion, we saw through Lucy's point of view, and then afterwards, what do we see? We see the beginning, we see the skirmish, the fight, and then we see the result of it later, because that's the whole point. That's the thing. That's the leitmotif. The fight doesn't matter. It's what happens before that leads to the fight, and what happens as a result of the fight. And
go ahead. Finish.
No, I was just going to say this one thing is that the fact that Kaiser, I hate saying that, leaves the note that says, I am Kaiser and, I am the Legion or whatever it is. And then the Macaulay Culkin character kills the other guy and takes the crown. It's showing us what Hank has said, which is they never learn. All they do now, really, the dude was saying that the Legion dies with me. Go do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. This is over. But and we saw that with what else? We saw that same thing happen with the 31, with the Buds. When they wake up, what are they trying to do? Resume the work.
No, the work is done.
It's 200 years later.
Stephanie even said this. She was like, that deal is done.
Yeah.
We're doing our own thing.
We're doing our own thing. We don't even know if the people that put us on this path are still alive. Yeah. Like, they could be food for the roaches. Like, and so you see that becomes the choice. He made the choice to continue on. Whereas you see Steph is like, I'm going to do my own thing, but she gets stopped because she was just making a lot of mistakes and wasn't very subtle. at all. Putting Woody's glasses in their own garbage disposal, like it's like you really did.
That's rookie mistakes right there.
That's like, come on, man. Like, this is a place where you have entire sections that nobody goes to. You could have took that. You, the overseer, could have opened the door and just tossed it into the wasteland. Nobody would have ever saw it.
So here's the thing. There's going to be a few plot points in the background. We're going to have the super mutant faction.
Yeah.
It's going to rise up. We're going to have the Legion making moves. We have the return of the NCR. We have the Maximus and Lucy story. We have the Ghoul story. And we have the Maximus Lucy story paired with Robert House potentially being a motivation for their story.
I legitimately think that, because here's the thing. Here are the things we see in that last scene with them. The Legionnaire, we know this, that the Legionnaires are marching down. They outnumber the NCR. There's going to be a fight. There's likely going to be a lot of death and chaos. Lucy and Maximus got to get out of that city. We don't know what's going to happen with Thaddeus. He's probably going to be staying there because he's falling apart. He's a funny character, by the way. I didn't think I would like him as much as I do.
Wait, which character? Sorry.
Thaddeus, the Ghoul, Maximus's friend.
Yeah.
When his arm falls off when they're getting ready to fight. I thought the Ghoul had superhuman or inhuman healing factors. He's just falling apart. He might be turning into a different monster. He probably is. I mean, we don't know. He thinks that he's becoming a Ghoul, but he's pointed out that there's some inconsistencies. Because remember, he's talking to Cooper, and he's like, "Yeah, I keep waiting on my nose to fall." This is before his arm falls out. He's like, "I keep waiting on my nose to fall out, but it hasn't happened yet." And so he points out the mouth growing out of his shoulder. So they're telling us that yes, he may think he's a Ghoul, because it's never been established that he's a Ghoul. Maximus says, "I think you're a Ghoul," and then later he claims to be a Ghoul, but we don't.
He don't even look like the other Ghouls.
Yeah, and I think that's what the writing is trying to tell us, is getting us to pick up on, like, yes.
Also, I think Cooper knows what he is and just didn't say.
I do too. There's a sense that Cooper is like, "Nah, you're not a Ghoul, man. You're something else." Because remember, he had gotten swallowed whole by that big swamp pinkish thing that had fingers for teeth or whatever. Like that thing took him all the way down.
Yeah.
Not only that, it also he also got the doctor gave him the wandering peddler gave him something that probably put whatever was going on in him from that mutation over the top. So I do think he's more mutant, becoming more of a mutant than a Ghoul. Because he hasn't needed the drugs either. That's something else.
That's another clue that I didn't even think about. You're a Ghoul, you need the drugs to stop becoming feral. And they highlighted that point in a recap episode of when in season 1, when Walter Goggins' Ghoul character encountered another Ghoul that was going feral, and he was like, "Oh, you haven't been taking the stuff." So that was an important thing. Like, okay, if Thaddeus is a Ghoul, you haven't once shown that you tried to become feral throughout the whole episode, throughout the whole season when you were shown, and you've been a Ghoul for a minute. So that was a good point.
And they follow that up with this season, because we don't know how long it takes to become a feral up until Cooper gets impaled on that pole. Yeah. Now, we know he's been there for almost a day, and he's starting to go feral. So because he can't reach the drugs. So that means that you have to have those drugs almost within hours, or it's going to start. It's going to at least begin. So that is.
This is the thing I don't know about that either. When you're freshly turned into or starting to turn into a Ghoul, how often do you need it opposed to when you already been living this long? And how often do you need the
Well, that's
drugs?
a good point. That could be a reason why we can't say definitively that he's not a Ghoul, because that's not enough evidence. We don't know, but that's what I'm saying. We don't know enough about any of these things to be like, okay, for a fact, he's not a Ghoul because he's not showing any signs of feralness, and he seems to be falling apart, where most Ghouls stay intact until they are dismembered or impaled or anything like that. So But this is just highlights what we've been saying, which is they create a lot of interesting mysteries. The question is, are they going to follow up, or are they going to drop the ball in the future season? I'm very much interested in the reveal of what is going to be for Barb and Janie. I don't think it's going to be anything good. I could even see Janie being a high-ranking leader in the Enclave at this point, because you got to remember, they've not seen him for a long time, which means that there's the possibility that they started to move on with their life and do other things and not concern themselves with what he would think, what he would want. And we know that they weren't in Vegas, but we don't know how long ago they were moved. And then we know that they were waking up, because they would have had to been waking up to move.
Or because the Enclave knows all and sees all. They know he's a ghoul because this ghoul has established his rep throughout the wasteland. He has a history with a lot of factions, either helping or killing some people. So they might know who he is and understand that he's a ghoul roaming the wasteland, and that's who he is now. He's the stranger. He's the bounty hunter. He's the ghoul, the gunfire.
And that would be a crazy twist if Janie and Barb are actually running from him. Like that would be an insane twist. I would not be mad if that was what
there's that option. But here's the thing you brought up, saying that a lot of unanswered questions could be potentially unanswered. The game does that to you. You can play the whole game and start a quest and not know the answer.
Yeah, oh no, I don't want everything answered. I believe firmly that, again, I always come back to our buddy Bombadil. I always believe in what Tolkien said, and a lot of writers have said the same thing. There always should be some mysteries and things that exist in a world, a fictional world, that is all up to the audience's or the reader's interpretation, how they feel about it. Yes, there may be something specific that Tolkien had in mind for putting Bombadil there, but he was never going to say what it was. And every time somebody attempted to try to explain it, he would answer the same way, which is, I don't think you understand Tom Bombadil. Like that's all he would say. He would not give an inch. And so I think that's always good. And I like Fallout for that. I don't need, it's like with The Walking Dead. I didn't never need to know or have an answer as to why people began to reanimate and come back to life. Because I thought that the idea of that, it made sense we didn't learn it, because what character would have the time in this situation to learn what happened? And how would it change anything unless they could fix it? Yeah. So when you think about it, those things are those Hollywood devices that wants to give the audience a sense of control, or like that there is a happy ending potentially on the horizon. But when you don't know as much, you feel that loss of control, and it creates a sense of fear. And I think Fallout is great for not revealing everything. We don't know. We can't say for sure if the last president of the United States was a part of the Enclave. We only have the clues.
We have a strong feeling, but we don't know.
Strong feeling, and we have enough evidence to make the case. And the show has even delivered us a bigger boom by showing us that he is the nexus between the cold fusion and the Enclave. The Enclave getting the cold fusion. So we had enough. But those little mysteries, they work for me. And I think the show keeps them going. They resolved the Hank McClane as the main antagonist. And I think
chapter is over.
That chapter, at least in that capacity. I think I think he'll still appear because you can do a lot with him. He's a great veteran sci-fi fantasy actor. And he's always good as that sort of smug, like, it reminds me, he also played a villain he played similar story in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He played the guy that's like the Jekyll and Hyde character. I forget his name, but he was Daisy. He was Quake's real father. And he
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and so, but he wasn't in Inhuman. Her mother was. He tried to turn himself into an enhanced human, and he got the Dr. Jekyll and Hyde thing. But he was great that season when he appeared as her dad, and very complex in the same way he portrays Hank. But underneath that sort of happy-go-lucky veneer, like that genteel, I'm walking on a cloud on a sunny day, and there's nothing but bright clouds around me. But at the same time, he'll knife you right in the dark.
Yeah.
Like
he played Mr. Hyde in the Marvel comics.
That's what it was. That's what it was. That's why I knew it was Jekyll and Hyde. I didn't remember if his name was
Calvin Johnson, the doctor.
Calvin Johnson. Yes, yes.
Which is funny.
Her name is Daisy Johnson. Like
I'm just saying, Calvin Johnson. That sounds
like a brother, right?
Yeah.
But it's totally Daisy's white father. But anyway, he was that guy in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so he's been doing, and obviously we know from Twin Peaks that is his fame. So we'll see him around, but I think it'll be interesting in where they turn in terms of who's going to be or what will be the antagonist of the next season. I don't think it's going to be the Legionnaires.
No,
I can't look at Macaulay Culkin and not see Kevin McAllister. I
think we're going to see more super mutants coming to the scene because there's an ongoing war between them and the humans. They have
definitely, and we'll definitely go to Colorado and see what's going on at the Enclave. Whether or not, I think season 3 will be when we get at least one answer, either to what's going on, where Barb is. Likely it's going to be Barb first that we learn what's going on with her, and then probably if they decide to continue the mystery, it'll be figuring out what's going on with Janie.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I think Janie is probably going to be revealed to be some kind of Enclave heavy.
Yeah. If you play Fallout 4.
I know the whole twist about that. So that's why I'm saying, like,
even though it's a 11-year-old game, it's a good game that I would not want to spoil for people who have not played the game.
Well, that's why I'm not saying specifically what we're talking about.
I'm just saying in general, just because I would say it, but like it's such a huge reveal in the game. You're just like, oh man. So
it's a crazy thing. But again, Bethesda, when they're on their storytelling trip, they have told some really great stories. So, even people who don't like Skyrim have said like the story is really good.
Yeah, Skyrim still holds up story-wise.
Yeah, I played the Oblivion remaster, which I'm assuming that they're probably going to do that for Fallout because it's just too popular. But the Oblivion remaster game was fun. It reminded me how fun Elder Scrolls can be.
I was going to say, too, there's another subplot with the Brotherhood of Steel and how that's going to happen. We have a warring factions within that whole entity of the faction itself.
So I have a question. Is the Commonwealth is not the Enclave? That's like another Brotherhood of Steel.
So the Commonwealth is in the game. The Commonwealth is the society you build when you're restarting your own community.
Oh, so the Commonwealth is basically the
area.
The game protagonist is so basically they're saying like this is the legacy of the game protagonist. Is that the Commonwealth has become powerful. The rest of the Brotherhood of Steel fears them because they basically were afraid. Like when only one paladin from the Commonwealth showed up,
and the Commonwealth is a region, so it's just a region. And so when you start off the game, where you used to live at, you build the region called the Commonwealth, and you start inviting people to your area to start this whole crew. Because there's a faction, I forgot what they're called, but they're like kind of patriotic, and you're protecting the good of the people. You go around protecting from super mutants, do all these missions.
I mean, as far as like what we have now with the TV show is that if that's the case, then that means that what they're talking about is the players, the game players, this place that was built has still survived and it has become a powerful place. That's so powerful that even the Brotherhood of Steel fears it, won't cross it. They were they immediately start talking a different tune when the guy from the Commonwealth showed up. At first they were talking, oh, we'll take your side if you get, as soon as he pull up, they're like, they're like, we were.
No, the Commonwealth and Enclave were separate entities. So
no, I got that now, but I didn't know what you just revealed, which is that's something that you, as the player of the game, build. And I think that's kind of cool that they dedicate, because that's basically a dedication to all the players who have ever played the games. It's like saying, like, look, that player built the Commonwealth. You were the player. Guess what? They're the heavies now. They are the ones that a lot of people are afraid of.
Yeah. And like I said, kudos to the whole team for the attention to detail. There were a lot of Easter egg references to the game. The power fist that knocked out the ghoul through the window, that's an actual weapon in the game. A lot of the guns that you see, actual weapons in the game. And it feels like when you have an achievement, when they went to the NCR and got the guns, that's like part of the game. You ended a quest, you got the guns, and you leveled up. It felt like, again, I was watching the game in live action, which was awesome. So
I think that's good for game players, because for me, I didn't need it,
but it was just cool to have it. Yeah, it was cool.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It is a very cool thing that the show producers, the writers and the directors, and even the actors are because apparently none of the actors have ever played the games either, and they have said that they don't plan on playing the games. No, and it's like me. I don't have any future plans to play Fallout. I might play Fallout 4. I've always started and stopped Fallout 4. So now I'm a little bit more interested. But just to say that they are striking an amazing balance that I think season 1 of The Last of Us did, but then season 2 they kind of moved away from it. And I don't think that you necessarily always need to have the same aesthetic as the game, because we're talking about a full new audience that's coming into it. You don't want to overload them. But but what they did was successfully pull even those people into the game world, because you did what? You went and played it.
Played the game.
And I may do the same. So there is a good balance there. And you saw it in season 2. The episodes are well paced, each one. None of the subplots became so that they were dragged out or felt like filler. They did it well. At first I thought, they kind of cheated us with Deathclaw. We only saw it, but then we get the whole showdown with Maximus in the armor and the Deathclaw, and that was a great sequence. Deathclaws are disgusting. They're even cannibals. They eat each other. They're just terrible.
Bro, again, I hate to go back to the game, but I'm saying on this, you see the game and you see your first Deathclaw, it is frightening because you are not powered up enough to face a Deathclaw.
You're going to get you either running or you got to get to the point that the game always puts there where you can actually get it. Because you typically, just to say, the Deathclaw is like a lot of things in Bethesda.
It's a level check.
Bethesda always has that monster, that thing that is a level check you. In Oblivion, it's the Daedric things that are coming through, the big ones, the ones that kind of look like Deathclaws themselves. And then in Skyrim, it's the dragons. Like the dragons will swoop down on you, and if you're not strong enough, there's a moment where, and I think it's the same with the Deathclaws, where if you are not quick enough and don't dodge, and you're too low level and your health is not full, it'll won't let you do anything. The dragon will literally just scoop you up in his mouth, shake you, and just throw you, and that's it. And I think I've seen a scenario where the Deathclaw grabs you and does the same thing.
So the funny part about that is when you in Fallout 4 particularly, when you meet your first Deathclaw, you need a power armor to fight it. That's the only way you can be able to fight it. And so
but it still like picks you up. If it gets colder, it like picks you up and tosses you.
Not all power armors are made the same. That's another detail.
Yeah. And you saw that too.
All the Fallout, there's different levels of power armor. And as they through the years, they get better. because there was a reference from Cooper saying, "Hey, man, in the flashback, he's like, your version of power stunk."
He was talking. Who was it? It was the Bud guy, right? It wasn't.
I don't know. It was Bud
saying that he designed it. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't House, because they didn't have a talk about the power. The only reveal that House made was that he. No, you know what? It's a good thing you brought, because so Bud Askins in season 1 talked about designing that power arm. The one that we then see fails. So we didn't realize what Cooper was talking about. And so then when we saw it, then they said they had Robert House reveal that he then upgraded it and installed, but even then he had installed the operating system, the Robco operating system. And it's so Robco's operating system in that world is basically like Mac operating system, or like Windows operating. Like, it's everywhere, which gives him the ability to see all, like, and to know all, and even hack into those suits.
And that's why he was able to defeat enemies in power armor in season 1 easily, because he knew the Achilles heel under the armor, and he was able to take out 6 armor. And that's why when
he took down Maximus.
Thaddeus was like, he asked Maximus, "Is this the guy that took on 6 power armor units?" He's like, "Yes." This dude is for real. But even him, again, going back to the Deathclaw, he saw a Deathclaw and was like, "Yo, we gotta go."
Goggins, and that's what speaks to him as an actor, because he's under all that makeup in his face, but he still just communicated total fear with his eyes, and that says a lot about considering who the character is.
Wait, what did Lucy say? "Can we just shoot it?" He was like, "No."
They're like, "You got a bazooka? You got a rocket launcher in there?"
Which is game reference.
Mm-hmm.
You need a rocket launcher to take them things out.
But I also like the detail of when they showed that Hank had put those Deathclaws there. When and he had chips on them. When Maximus gets stuck, the Deathclaw could have went in for the kill, but Cooper was close to that door, and the Deathclaw turned and started coming toward him, and he was shooting him with everything he had. And again, shout out to Walter Goggins, because you feel the fear in his eye as he look, because you thinking, you know what he's thinking, like, man, if Maximus, though, this is over and it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt real bad.
Two things. He knows it's gonna hurt, but also going back to Thaddeus, remember, the ghoul needed radiation to heal. When Thaddeus got shot through the arrow in the neck, he just healed.
He just healed on his own. Yeah.
So they're telling us he's not a ghoul without telling us he's not a ghoul.
They're showing it. It's show don't tell. Later they will tell us what we've been seeing. And that's how you're supposed to do it. Like, you show these things and then later you tell us. Or I'll tell you something and then I'll show it. Like in the case with the armor. We were told that the armor was crappy, but this time we see
it. Yeah.
Exactly the incident he was talking about. And even more, they show us that was a key moment in all of this, because that was when the Enclave first unleashed the Deathclaws. And that's why the Deathclaw didn't kill him. And we don't know that until later. And we can assume that there was a chip on that Deathclaw.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, kudos to the cast and crew and the people who were behind it. It's a really good show. Very surprising. Again, I came into Fallout not knowing too much about it. I knew there was games, and my friends was like, it's a dope game, you should get into it. And the show has lived up to the games, but man, it's its own thing. And so I look forward to the next season or two, however far they want to go with it. And again, at the same time, there are a lot of questions to be answered, but I don't mind if not all the questions are answered in this type of story.
Yeah, I think they've managed to, and hats off to Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, who are part of the executive producer team. You can still see their Westworld aesthetic there in terms of how they build their mysteries and the things that they show us that we don't think about until we see the reveal or the ultimate payoff, and then going back and rewatching it, you pick up on the hints and clues that they literally put in your face to that, support where they're going with the story. But it's a rare achievement because for so long, most of us who are a little older, like remember when video game movies were just and TV shows, you just couldn't do it. It just didn't work. Going all the way back to the attempt at Super Mario to for all the intents and purposes, the Mortal Kombat movie was not great.
But we let the first Mortal Kombat slide.
We let that slide because it had some iconic people in it. It had some good moments. The casting was good, especially Robin Shaw as Liu Kang and Carrie. What am I?
Sonya Blade? You talking about?
No. Carrie, the guy that played, he just passed recently. That played.
Shang Tsung.
Yeah. They were great. That was what made and then of course the end with the Emperor bursting up and saying, "You weak, pathetic fool." Because that was, if you ever played Mortal Kombat, that was his thing. He would always insult you by calling you a weak, pathetic fool as you started to fight. And a lot of times, Shao Kahn would put the hurt on you until you could get it better. But
Cary Tagawa, rest in peace.
Cary Tagawa, rest in peace. He was so loved and iconic as Shang Tsung that the game designers eventually started to design the character to look after him. Like there was at least one game where he is the design for Shang Tsung. And
gotcha.
And so that was, for all its flaws, that was as good as it got, is my point when it came to games based on video games based on movies. It didn't work the other way around either, and they just stopped that completely when you try to turn a movie into a video game. So Fallout has been great. I'm looking forward to the next season and coming in to get these. Hopefully they will do a re-release of one of the games. I think that would be fun. Some people are saying maybe New Vegas, but I keep getting conflicted thoughts on that one, and so I guess
Fallout 4, man. Just play that.
If I do play, it'll be Fallout 4. But The Witcher 4 is coming, and they're going to release new versions of the original trilogy. So
look, Witcher 4 comes out, we're dropping everything. We may even pod on that just because we're fans of that game.
I will probably do some live streaming gameplay for that one. I am obsessed with The Witcher. I'm gonna play 3 again because it's one of those rare RPGs that even after the main story is done, it doesn't feel like the world is just empty. Like it just doesn't feel like that continuous repeat of things. Like obviously you can't advance further with the people like they're just set on a loop of dialogue or whatever, but the rest of the world is still active and live. You could spend hours just hunting monsters and getting paid and like living like the straight up Witcher life. So love that game, man.
We can have a whole another 2-hour discussion on The Witcher 3 and its greatness and how it's still great and why CD Projekt Red?
Yeah, CD Projekt Red. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why Cyberpunk in its first incantation was a failure because of the high expectations of what they did with The Witcher 3. However, Cyberpunk has since rectified itself. It's one of the better games out there.
They seem to be one of the few studios that will say, okay, we'll go back and take a look and see what we can do. Like Bethesda with Starfield was just like, whatever. You either like it or you don't. We don't care. Like we don't care. We're trying to focus on Elder Scrolls 6 potentially and like all the stuff that people really want. They probably are trying to work on a Fallout 5 or a new Fallout, especially with the popularity of the show. It's like you got to take advantage of that. So Starfield just became a victim of the times. They say they're going to release it on PS5, and I think that will give it a new joke.
Maybe I'll play it because I was looking forward to it because based off the hype, but we'll see if I can get to it.
Yeah, if so. But anyway, before we get out of here, any final thoughts on Fallout?
No, I think I said enough. Like I said, I enjoyed the show. Again, watching the show brought me into the game and trying to understand its lore. And now I have a newfound understanding of why people who do like Fallout like it so much. I get it now. I had no expectations. I thought it was one thing and it was totally something different. So kudos to them for giving me the 5250 fake and putting me on a whole different trajectory and following the lore, following the characters, actively watching a show all the way through and sticking with it. So kudos to them.
Yeah, and those 8 episodes work. They're smooth and it's a world you wanna watch and it keeps you into it. And as long as they keep doing that, I'll accept 3 more seasons, because I think this is a 5-season type of joint. And you kind of see that they probably have arced it that way. It feels like they have arced it that way to where they're going to wrap it up in 5 seasons. Yeah. But before we get out of here, as always, if you love our content, love our channel, we would ask that you turn on those notifications so you are aware. YouTube lets you know when we got new content. But most importantly, hit that subscribe button, because we do want to keep bringing you the content and we enjoy doing it. We enjoy doing the reviews, but that's how you help us. So subscribe, leave us a comment. Sometimes we might comment.
Share us too. Share us. Find us on Discord. Find us on almost every social media platform. Facebook, we're active. Instagram, we're active. Twitter, we're active. So hit us up with a message. We'll be sure to answer. And if you don't like us, tell us that too. So
tell us that, but beware. The door is open.
We welcome all. And on that note, peace.
Peace.